All right, insiders, Sara Jones on the podcast today. After serving as a spa director for elite properties like Rosewood's Mayacoba in Mexico, Sara founded Spa and Wellness MexiCaribe, Latin America's definitive wellness magazine. We're going to talk today about what it means to be the bridge between the Latin American wellness market and much, much more. Excited to share. Sara, thank you so much for joining us today. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You have such a singular perspective in this industry. It is just phenomenal. As the founder of Spa and Wellness MexiCaribe and the editor as well, you really have a viewpoint into the entire Latin American market that no one else does. And with your presence at the Global Wellness Summit and shows like this, you serve as this ambassador into that market for so many global wellness trends.
Thank you. I try to think of the magazine as a bridge in between Latin America, Caribbean, and the rest of the world, and showcase that to the audience of readers in Latin America, and also take what's amazing that's happening all over Mexico, Caribbean, and Latin America, and tell the rest of the world about it.
I love that. So in that role as a bridge, what do you find determines whether a wellness trend that's hitting globally will resonate with the Latin American market?
I think that we all need to be aware of the trends that are global, and then we need to identify what works for our market. So if we've got resort spas or day spas in a city or a longevity clinic, then they each need to look at the trends through their own lens and think about who their clientele is and what they're really looking for. Because not every trend is relevant to every audience. And across Latin America, people are looking for authentic experiences. So in Mexico, that means treatments with shamans, treatments like temazcals, treatments drawing on ancient traditions. And in the Caribbean, that's something different again. In South America, you've got different indigenous rituals and customs that can be brought into wellness experiences. So there's always something local that we can showcase to our clientele. So if the trend is indigenous experiences, that's the trend, but it means something different in every market.
Interesting. So culturally, do you find that psychedelics like ayahuasca are more integrated into the Latin American wellness market than they are in the United States?
Definitely, yes. It is something that is prevalent across Mexico and other parts of South America as well. It is something that's definitely gaining popularity and becoming more socially acceptable. There are retreats that are now building that practice into their offering, but it is still something that is on the fringe rather than integral to every wellness experience that's being offered. It certainly isn't something that we see in resort spa experiences.
So it still hasn't achieved that mainstream, even though there is that dimension of cultural heritage.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What is a wellness trend that you've seen resonate globally that did not hit in Latin America?
Across Latin America, we've definitely been slower to adopt high-tech options. That's not to say that they're not there, but there's such a focus on human contact and human interaction and authentic experience that the option of providing touchless wellness experiences has been slower to be adopted throughout Latin America. But that doesn't mean to say that it won't arrive in Latin America. I was speaking over the last year about the mechanical AI-powered massage robot and how fantastic that is to have that option. And it's not going to replace therapists, and it's certainly not going to replace excellent therapists because they can really provide an experience that no robotic massage can ever provide. But could it replace a overworked, tired therapist at the end of their shift who hasn't had enough time off, who hasn't been able to recharge their own energy and therefore isn't able to give that energy to the client? I think that there's always a space for the authentic, original experiences, but that AI and robotic massage will push us to elevate that experience because the mediocre treatment from a therapist who's overworked or tired for whatever reason will no longer be acceptable. But that comes back into the hotel industry because resorts and spas often in Latin America have their staff working 6 days a week. And
Really?
This is something that I will keep talking about until it changes. And it is starting to change with many leading brands offering their staff the option to work 5 days a week. But along with that, they work longer hours on those 5 days.
Is there the labor shortage of massage therapists in Latin America that we see here in the United States?
I think there's always a labor shortage at the high end because everybody wants the best therapists. You're always going to be looking for excellence in the people that you recruit. But I think that it's really important for hospitality brands to consider the balance, because how can we offer wellness to guests and speak about all these amazing experiences, yet our staff are overworked and
Can't
not
pour
getting
from an
enough
empty
time to
cup.
recharge. So
Yeah.
I think that's really important for everyone all over the world to consider, but definitely in Latin America, we see that a lot of staff are working long hours, maybe with only 1 day off, and that's not really a balanced well life.
It's not sustainable.
Exactly. So that's something that is close to my heart and very important to me, and I think the industry will benefit from recognizing that and creating an environment where their staff have the ability to take time for themselves and really be fully present for every treatment that they offer to their guests, and therefore provide better service.
Why do you think that 6-day-a-week dimension exists in the Latin American market?
I think that it's been just slow to change. It's something that in hospitality has been prevalent for decades, and it's the way it's always been done. And in the mindset of a lot of leaders of the industry, meaning general managers of hotels, having people work less hours may not automatically feel conducive to offering better service and a better experience for the guest. Whereas I think in the wellness industry, we see immediately that that's what it could bring.
That makes sense. Now, you mentioned earlier this need or desire for human touch is slowing the adoption of autonomous wellness in the Latin American market. Where do you think that the increased focus on that touch comes from?
I think just the cultural aspect of being in Latin America. It's such a warm culture across all of the many different countries and cultures we have across Latin America and Caribbean. The commonality between many of the countries is that there is a very warm culture where people are used to embracing the people they meet. And it's just a very warm, comforting experience for the guests. It's a warm, comforting culture.
So do you think if you're a small business and you're evaluating where to invest, would you advise if somebody has a large Latin American population that they maybe err away from the autonomous?
No, I don't think so. I think that just choosing the right technology for your clientele. Technology is still important. And I think that in terms of longevity, having really good technology to do diagnostics and everything from red light therapy to binaural beats to vibroacoustic technology can really accentuate experiences. And that's true across all treatments and across all countries. And we are seeing that definitely at the higher end. But it's not replacing human touch. It's used in combination with human touch. So you might have a vibroacoustic treatment massage bed that has that technology built in, and it can be utilized while the guest is having a massage or a facial. So they're being used together.
Love that. So it's supplemental. It's not replacing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Love that. Now, on that topic, are there nuances that a spa owner, let's say in Texas or Florida, should be aware of in serving their Latin American clientele?
Knowing your clientele and what they want is the most important thing for every business. So if you're in one of those regions, then you probably know your clientele well. And if they are typically Latin American, then your staff might also be Latin American. So they might bond well because of that shared culture.
Love that. Are there any nuances that somebody that may not be as familiar with the culture should be aware of?
It's just more of a warm culture, and people are more used to perhaps embracing and physical touch than in other parts of the world, certainly. I actually do a training for spa and wellness businesses that's based on the 5 love languages and how to adapt that. So physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, and quality time. A lot of those are really already included in a spa and wellness service, but really touching on all 5 and being able to recognize what the guest responds to best, and therefore being able to tailor the treatments and the experiences for that guest to what they respond to well and what they identify with and what they enjoy. Eventually from that, you're going to have more repeat bookings, you're going to have better referrals, better ratings, and guests that want to come back again and again.
So ideally, is a spa activating those 5 languages across a single guest journey?
Exactly, yes. So when I do that training, I'll teach the spa team how to recognize their own love languages, how to recognize others' love languages, and how to incorporate all 5 into treatment journeys and services, and then how to pick up on what that guest responds to therefore take it forward into other treatments and services that the guest might want to enjoy on that trip and then future trips.
So a lot of our audience with this is going to be smaller businesses. Could you provide an example on how a business on a budget might apply those distinct love languages over the course of a service?
Okay, so for example, words of affirmation. It's not something that you can immediately meet someone and start outpouring words of affirmation. Showering them with compliments might not feel genuine.
Mm-hmm.
But what the therapist can do is recognize if they're responding better to that language, and also using things like affirmation cards. So if the guest wants to choose an affirmation to set the tone of their treatment experience, and if they respond well to that ritual, then you might recognize that, oh, okay, this guest is responding to words of affirmation. By the end of that treatment experience, perhaps the therapist has bonded more with that guest and can therefore use some genuine words of affirmation to that guest. So it's all about making sure it feels genuine and natural rather than forced and in any way false.
Is there a particular love language that you find spas struggle with more than others?
Quality time, physical touch, and acts of service really fit very easily into the spa and wellness experience. And I think gift giving and words of affirmation are the ones that we need to focus a little more on. And gift giving doesn't need to be something expensive. It could be a little token or a gesture, like a little bracelet that is a memory of the experience, a little crystal that's aligned with their birthstone or star sign, for example. That's something that they have to remember the service and the experience by. And that's something that they keep with them. And if gifts are their love language, they're going to remember that and think fondly of that experience.
Very, very interesting. Now, is there a wellness trend that you feel like is being slept on right now that you're seeing in Latin America and the rest of the world just hasn't caught up yet?
Can I switch that question around?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that the wellness real estate trend is really important and really fascinating, and it's happening a lot across many parts of the world. And I think it's coming across Latin America, but we're not there yet. I think there's so much potential for more developments to open in and around Latin America. We've got the perfect combination of climate, culture, and different environments to offer to people, and proximity to North America, where people can be in the same time zone and have a residence perhaps in Mexico, perhaps in the Caribbean, Central or South America, and live in a wellness residential community. And I think that there's an untapped market there that is ready and waiting.
Very interesting. And are there efforts right now that are going on to really satisfy that, or do you feel like that's a total blue ocean?
There are definitely developments in construction, and obviously these things take time, so there's a pipeline of developments that will come about in the next few years, but there's not nearly as many as there could be, and not nearly as many as the demand will be for.
I love that. As we close this out, is there a mentor on your journey that has been particularly impactful in your life?
Oh, wow. There have been many along the way. During the process of the magazine, which has now been running for 15 years, there have been so many people who have helped me along the way. A lot of people from within Mexico and then internationally who have helped shape the journey. We had for a long time in the magazine the expert panel, and included in the expert panel were Bonnie Baker, Adriana Azuara, two prominent figures in the wellness industry.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Really, really grateful for your time.